How does this make you feel? Calm and at peace? Or maybe a little tense, uneasy even, as though there's some evil awaiting off the screen or behind you? If you ask someone what makes a video game scary, a common response might be the monsters, the dimly lit corridors, or maybe even the unpredictable jump scares that are littered throughout horror games. But what if I reminded you of something that more often than not goes completely overlooked? The soundtrack. When I first heard the soundtrack to Zelda Twilight Princess, I remember thinking to myself at times, wow, I didn't know this was a horror game, because the dissonant melodies heard in certain areas reminded me a lot of Silent Hill. Horror games use music to manipulate your emotions, heighten tension, and keep you on edge for as long as possible. And it's not for no good reason either. There's an actual science behind how and why the music in video games keep us at our most tense. When we think about what makes a game memorable, soundtracks often take a backseat to visuals or gameplay, especially in 2025, where companies are calling their new IPs quadruple A titles. But here's the thing, sound is one of the most powerful ways to invoke a particular emotion. A 1999 study published by Nature Neuroscience found that music directly activates the amygdala, the part of the brain responsible for processing fear and pleasure. This means that soundtracks don't just set the mood, they actively shape how we feel on a biological level, and that biology can be leveraged to force a player into feeling exactly how you want them to feel just from the power of music alone. Take this clip from the beginning of Silent Hill 2, for example. It's quiet, calm, almost serene. But what if we bring the music back? In horror games, soundtracks aren't just there to complement the visuals, they're the backbone of the fear that takes over your body when you play them. Take away the audio, and the atmosphere almost falls apart. One of the key reasons horror soundtracks are so effective is they tap into our primal instincts of fight or flight with the use of sudden, loud, or low frequency sounds. These sounds mimic natural danger signals, making us anxious to turn a corner or look behind us before we even realize it. Games like Omori use this technique really well. A calming piano melody might start out soothing, but slowly distorts, leaving you on edge. And in Twilight Princess, eerie ambient soundscapes in areas like the Arbiter's grounds intentionally make you question every shadow along your journey, wondering if there's something you can't quite see awaiting you in the absence of light. Horror games often implement more dynamic soundtracks than most, music that reacts to the player's actions in order to further immerse players in their gameplay experience. This adaptive audio style is shown to increase player engagement by making the experience feel more personal. In Silent Hill 2, for example, the metallic soundscape ramps up as you approach danger, such as in the hospital when you fight the nurses. And when the enemies are down, it stops. Because the danger is over, for now at least. It's not just background music, it's a living part of the game, warning you that something isn't right, and then reminding you that you're safe again when it's all over and done with. This dynamic interplay between the player and the soundtrack keeps you on the edge of your seat. It blurs the line between what's real and what's part of the game, making every step feel like a risk. One that you need to calculate whether or not it's worth taking. But sometimes, what you don't hear is just as important as what you do. A 2015 study in the Journal of Neuroscience found that periods of silence heightens our sensitivity to sound, making us hyper-aware of minor audio cues such as a door closing or distant footsteps. Take Yumi Nikki, for example. This game uses silence to incredible effect, amplifying the surreal loneliness of its dream worlds and keeping you guessing what's to come next. Silence in horror games primes your brain for tension. You start to notice every creak, every breath, every distant sound, and when the music finally kicks in, it's devastating, because you've been holding your breath the entire time, waiting for the inevitable. A great soundtrack doesn't just set the mood though, it tells a story, and most notably can be used to trigger emotional memories more strongly than visual stimuli can. That's why a game's theme can stick with you long after you've finished playing, and why you might find yourself hearing Omori's theme long after you're done with the game. In Omori, recurring musical themes evolve as the story progresses, reflecting the protagonist's inner turmoil and developing unrest. These musical callbacks tie the gameplay to the story, embedding key moments into your memory. Similarly, Silent Hill 2's Promise Reprise captures the emotional core of one of the characters, Angela Orozco.
Angela.
Grief, guilt,
Angela.
and despair,
Okay.
all without a single word.
Look, I'm not sure what you're planning, but there's always another way.
And the player is made to feel as though the protagonist James is able to relate to that feeling, supported by the airy pads and simple yet effective piano melody. You quickly begin to understand them both and how, despite their differing experiences, they feel very similar emotions.
Me. You. We're all the same.
I'm not like you.
The line between music and ambient sound often disappears in games like these, where blending in-world ambience with music creates a more immersive experience. Silent Hill 2 blurs these lines brilliantly. The grinding industrial noises could be part of the soundtrack, or it could be the town itself, alive and breathing down your neck. As you make your way to the historical society, the world around you suddenly plunged into darkness. Is the deep, rumbling, cloudy synth you hear supposed to tell you about James's mental state, or do you think he can hear it too? This blending creates the illusion that the world you're placed in is alive, oppressing not only the character you're controlling, but you as well, the player. You're not always so sure if you're hearing music or the environment, and that's exactly the point. Video game soundtracks in games like these are more than just background noise. They're psychological tools, emotional storytellers, and the unsung heroes of the horror genre. Whether it's the dreamy unease and repetitiveness of Yumi Nikki, the oppressive dread of Silent Hill 2, or the distorted nostalgia of Twilight Princess, these soundtracks stick with us long after the credits roll, like an earworm wriggling around inside of our heads, reminding us of the horrors we experienced, whether we realize that or not. So, the next time you play a horror game, or any genre of game at that, keep an ear out and listen closely, because the scariest thing about the game might not be what you see, but what you hear, and how that's manipulating you into feeling scared without you being the slightest bit aware. I recently created a Patreon. It's completely free at the moment as I try to understand what benefits I can give back to you for watching my videos. If you have any ideas on what you'd like to see over there, go ahead and comment on the post I put up to let me know. What I would love to know though is, what is your favorite video game soundtrack? It doesn't have to be horror. I just love listening to video game music, as you might be able to tell from my previous videos, so be sure to let me know in the comments. Also, I know this is a little bit cringe, but my goal here is to develop a community of like-minded video game fans, so if you're still watching right now and you haven't subscribed already, well, you know where the button is. This video in itself is a little different from my usual speedrun or challenge content, so if you liked it, be sure to let me know by, pressing the button. Alright, thanks for watching, bye bye.